Well, I think we're ready to go. I'd like to welcome everybody to this first lecture. Introductions, my name's Tony Nightingale, G3ZPU, also radio presenter at Lincoln City Radio. And one of the things, I mention that purely because one of the things that's important to a broadcaster on the professional scale as well as the amateur scale is the quality of microphones. And I think it's without a doubt probably the most famous microphone and microphone inserts in amateur radio as well as broadcasting is Heil. Without further ado, I'd really like to welcome, let's have a big limey welcome all the way from the States, Mr. Bob Heil.
Thank you, thank you. Well, as usual, deep difficulties. But that's okay, we're hams, we can take care of that. Computers, I hate them, because they never work when they're supposed to, so forget it. I had a couple little graphs I was going to show you, no big deal. We're here today to try to teach you some things that's been around forever, the science of audio. And it's really sad because the manufacturers have great designers. They design these beautiful things and they put them in their gear and they sell them to you. But then the marketing guys get a hold of them to sell them to you, and they don't know what in the world is inside the radio. They can't even operate it. They don't know anything about it, and it's all of them. It's not just one of them, and it's really sad. Who suffers? You. You paid a lot of money for the gear, and it's really amazing to me how many times today, with all these menus we have, we don't experiment with them because we're afraid. How many guys are using your radios in the default mode? You went in and set all the menus and you did all that? You see, there's some of you are still in default. And that's sad because there's so many things you can do. I'm going to try, this could be an experiment here with all the background noise. I don't know if we're going to be able to pull this off. Let me do a couple of things here. What I've done here is I've set up a transmitter and a receiver. And I like to do what I call real-time radio. We're going to actually transmit into a dummy load, and we're going to listen in a receiver. And it's the only way that you know how you sound. It's really sad when I hear guys say, "Oh, my buddy tells me I sound just great." He can't tell you. No. And if you talk to him 2 days later, he'll say something different. There's only one person that can tell you, and that's you. And I don't want to hear this, "Oh, I can't listen to myself," or this. No, 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 no. You will know immediately when the sweet spot hits, what I call the sweet spot. You just know. And so what you got to do, wait, let me get the right microphone here. What you got to do is make things happen for you. Nobody else. You're the guy. And if you don't do this right, then it just does not work. Let's see here. If we're going to get all this all working, I'm going to get a mic gain up here. What I should do, I need to get one of the headsets. That would even be better. Can you go out and get like get the HC6 Pro Set Elite for me, please? My wife Sarah, by the way, she takes care of everything I do. In the meantime, though, I want to go through some things for you. We develop microphones for everybody. The broadcast industry, the podcast industry, and of course amateur radio. And it started with me back in the days when I was on tour with the Grateful Dead, the Who, Humble Pie. I did all their audio. And it was really refreshing as an amateur radio operator to bring this great science of audio to those stages and actually change the way that things were doing in those days. It was great because nobody else was doing any kind of experiments in the early days. We're talking the late 60s, and here's this crazy ham radio operator that we were trying anything. Nothing was impossible. And you know, we had a company called Shure. These people came along and everybody thinks, well, that's really great. Well, maybe it is and maybe it isn't. And this is their high dollar beta. I'm not playing any games. You notice I'm not using different channels. This isn't a magic act, it's science. And what's wrong with it? Sounds like I have a blanket over it. What happened? What went wrong here? Nothing went wrong. It's just that over the years, evolution, we expect better audio. This is a 1965 or 66 design, and it's not changed, except they now build them in China and Mexico, and I take great pride in trying to make things ourselves. And when I see these great companies do these stupid things, thank you, only in the interest of the money, that's not right. So we wanted to carry this and bring some of the amateur radio findings into amateur radio microphones and pro microphones. And it was my good friend Joe Walsh, WB6ACU, who is with the Eagles. I'm sure you all know Joe. A lot of you might have talked to Joe. It was his idea for me to do something about this. And so we did. You see, years ago, when I got into this business, I built probably the most popular microphone in amateur radio, the Gold Line. The Gold Line was... Joe said to me one day, he said, you know, this thing sounds better than my SM58. I said, really? Because I had never done this. By gosh, he was right. This is an amateur radio microphone that sounds better than this. What's going on here? Well, what's going on is that we learned to listen through what we needed in amateur radio to cut through the noise. This microphone has a wider response, but it's got a really good peak, about 2,000 to 4,000 cycles, right where the Fletcher-Munson curve of your ears need to be. Then I said, well, you know, if we cut into pile-ups and contesting, we want to really get into it, we need to do even more. Well, in those early days, we didn't have a lot of equalization in these radios. So I built an element that did that for you. Yes, it isn't pretty sounding, but it cuts through. I rolled off the low end, increased the highs, and without anything with the radio, you can cause that to cut through better. We took all of this technology, and it's been around forever, just paying attention to what we need to hear in our ears, and put it into full range microphones. And it really plays. The microphones, they sound so much better when you pay attention to what you need to hear. This is a brand the DVD's in my computer. You'll have to turn it on. This is a new microphone, the HM12, and this microphone is $70 American. And this microphone is amazing. I just came up with this for this industry. And what's cool about it is that it'll work with just about every radio, and it doesn't cost very much money. And I really started out 2 or 3 years ago to build an interview microphone for the broadcast industry. And I said, oh, we need to do something really cool for the hams.